I'm very honored to be here. Thank you so much for inviting us. We're super excited. And thank you all for coming and hearing about the Satanic Temple. I had a great slideshow that I was going to show you guys, but there's no projector, so I'm going to be kind of winging it, so please bear with me. The imaginary slides are behind me. Okay, so what I first wanted to start talking about is, what's the common perception of Satanism? And I had this great graphic of like a bloody, baby sacrifice, It was like Jeb Bush as a Satanist and like all the skull and bones guys, And that's what most people think of when they think of Satanism, or heavy metal. But, generally, since the Satanic Panic in the 90s, that's really the image that first comes to people's minds. Also, the baby-eating theme seems to be big for the atheists, too, so not really. There's a crossover there for sure. So that's the myth. Let me tell you about the reality of at least the Satanic Temple. The Satanic Temple is just one of many different kinds of Satanism. We're not like, we're the only satanic way. The Satanic Temple is fairly new. I believe we've really only been around for less than 5 years. We are an atheist activist group, primarily. What we do is we fight for constitutional rights against religious overreach. And there's a lot of that happening right now. So we have a lot of stuff that we're working on right now. And we have the special power that, legally we're just like any other religion. An atheist can come in somewhere where there's been a breach of church-state separation and fight against that encroachment, but they can't say, well, we're on equal footing because we're a religion. We are a religion, although we're non-theistic. We don't worship or believe in anything. And also, we're pretty much the Christian's worst nightmare. I mean, if you're going to pass out Bibles at school, then legally you have to let us come in and pass out a really cute little kids' activity book, Satanic Kids Activity Book. Which is all about tolerance and acceptance and, compassion and inclusive language. And, it's very cute and very inoffensive and certainly way more child-friendly than the Bible, in my opinion. And this is a pretty effective strategy. We did this down in Florida. There's these organizations all over the country, and most of them are national, that exist solely to get Bibles in schools, to get plaques up in public buildings that say, "In God We Trust." Like, they have lots of money. They kind of operate, you don't really hear about them too much. And they're incredibly organized and well-funded. And that's kind of what we're up against. But we do have the law on our side. So we went down, there was a school district, a public school district in Florida that allowed Bible distribution. We came in with our coloring book and said, okay, well, if you allow them, you have to allow us. And they said no. And then the next year, that rolled around, and we came in with some lawyers from the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And they had to, they had to equally let us distribute our literature. But guess what? They then decided to just scrap that policy entirely. And so now, there are no Bibles being distributed, which was our original goal. Like, we're not really out to proselytize for the word of Satan or anything like that. But we just, we're making a point. This really is our religion. The symbol of Satan is, it's personally meaningful for all of us in this group. And, this group provides the same kind of things that any religion does for us, a community, a sense of purpose, especially with the activism. We really feel like we're doing something meaningful. So, you really can't argue that it's not a religion. And so we kind of have that over the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. They're obvious, people kind of laugh at them. Not that many people on the other side laugh at us. We're lighthearted, but certainly the religious right, doesn't see it that way. They see it as the end times, I guess. I don't know. So So that's our primary mission, is to do this activism work. Let me tell you about some of the different things we've done across the country in that regards. I think probably the most famous, at least visually case that we've done is there's a Ten Commandments statue, monument, on the lawn of the Oklahoma state capitol. And so we've petitioned, and we have the legal right to place our own monument there. And this is what we've come up with. This is a 7-foot tall statue of Baphomet, and on either side of him are 2 little kids looking up at him. And you can come and sit on his lap. And this has been cast in bronze. It has yet to be unveiled, but it will be soon. So that's probably where a lot of people have seen our image. They've seen this Baphomet statue. I don't think there's any way that they're actually going to let us put it there, but we're hoping that they'll have to remove the Ten Commandments monument. Like, we would really prefer that nobody have any religious stuff on public property. Like, we totally think that's encroachment. But we're like the nuclear option. If you're going to, bring the Christians in, then you're going to have to let us in as well. So that's a pretty well-known one. The kids' activity book, I just talked about that. We've gotten flooded with requests from across the country from people that, their kid brought home a Bible or was, coerced to do something religious, and they're like, can you please come and distribute your satanic coloring books? But we just don't have enough people to do it. So locally, we're fighting the church-state separation breach. Down in Vancouver, Washington, Clark County, it's right across the river from Portland. The county council there sort of sneakily passed this resolution to put up a plaque that says "In God We Trust" in the county council chambers. And they had to really sneak it in. They canceled the council meeting when it was supposed to be voted on that everybody showed up to, and then moved it to it was like a Tuesday at 6, they moved it to Friday at 11 or noon, or sometime when people couldn't come, and they snuck it through. And a lot of the residents down there are really angry about that, and they reached out to us. So we have a competing plaque that we're going to go down and propose. It's totally up to them if they accept, if they want to consider the proposal, but we'll at least read it. And so we want them to put up a second plaque, if they're going to put that one up, that celebrates the diversity of religions and not just the single, God. So what we're proposing is a plaque that says "E pluribus unum," from the many one, which was our motto before, "In God We Trust." And then around that we have a whole bunch of different religious symbols, Christian, Satanist, pagan, atheist, humanist, as many as I could fit on there, basically, to show, we're a nation of many diverse belief systems, not just this one that we're trying to impose on everybody. And so that's generated quite a bit of press. The council has said to the press that they won't, they definitely won't consider it. But at least we'll be down there making the point, which is pretty much all we can do down there. Okay, one more kind of lighthearted way that we do that is there's, you can put up nativity displays in a lot of places on the public lawns. So we've fought and gotten the right to display, our holiday display as well. And, we did this in Florida. There was also the flying spaghetti monster. There was the atheists. There was a Festivus pole. And then there was ours. And ours was this, it looked like an 8th grade art project. It was handmade with tempera. And, they had taken an angel figurine and suspended it, from the sky over some, handmade paper flames. Because the thinking was, that's kind of Satan's nativity, right, when he got thrown out. So, it looked like a science fair project that a kid might do. And this crazy woman wearing a Catholic Warrior t-shirt came in and just attacked it and destroyed it. She did get arrested. She didn't get convicted or prosecuted much. So some of you may remember this Hobby Lobby case that went through a couple of years ago. There's an act on the books, a federal law called the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And it was meant, as far as I can tell, to actually protect people's, diversity of beliefs. But it's being used by the Christian right, by the legislators that, are super Christian to enforce that Christian mindset on everyone else. And what's really in the news a lot these days is like Indiana had one of these laws that it basically says if you can refuse service to anyone based on your personal religious beliefs. So if someone is gay or trans or whatever, you don't have to serve them. If you're a paramedic, you don't have to save their life. You have no obligation to follow the anti-discrimination laws of your locality or state. It exempts you, gives you a free pass. And it especially applies, apparently, to corporations. So this federal ruling ruled that the corporation Hobby Lobby, which is, I guess, Christian-owned, that they could exempt out of, I think, the Obamacare provision that they had to provide, reproductive health care to women. The men part wasn't an issue, And so Hobby Lobby claimed that certain forms of contraception were actually abortificants, like they actually caused abortion, and that their belief was that abortion was wrong, trumped the scientific accuracy of the fact that those things were not, that they did not cause abortions. So basically, the Supreme Court ruled that a corporation's religious beliefs trump not only an individual's rights, but also basic science. Like that, that doesn't even have to come into play. So this is a hugely wide ruling that can be abused in all kinds of ways. And we're seeing that now with the anti-gay laws that are under the skies. And it just leaves everything wide open. Like basically it gives you a free pass to not follow the other laws of the land, if that's your personal belief. Now obviously when they created this law and the ones that they're trying to get through as anti-gay, they really were thinking that there was only one kind of religion and it was Christianity, as far as I can tell. But the great news is there's a lot more different religions and we're one of them. And we're very active and we have an ongoing relationship with legal teams and we have a lot of allies. We don't have, well, actually we do have quite a few members. We have 40 members in this area, but even more than just the members, it's the community around us and nationally that really, does a lot of the supporting and helps us do the fight that we do. So when this Hobby Lobby decision came out, the Satanic Temple came out with a legal waiver that you could download, that a woman could download and bring to any kind of pregnancy center, Planned Parenthood, when they wanted to have an abortion. And the waiver stated that, that the woman subscribed to one of our beliefs. You don't even have to be a Satanist as long as you share this belief that your body is your own, that your own body is inviolable and subject to your will alone. And also that, you have the right to receive accurate medical information. What they're doing was, not only putting really long waiting periods for women that wanted abortions, but they are also state mandated to sit through this presentation that told them just bald-faced lies, like abortion caused breast cancer, it caused suicide, like just complete lies, But since that's the belief, I guess, of the legislators, they, were allowed to foist it on these women. But legally, these women have the same right to have their religious beliefs respected as they do. So, I saw them do that. I saw the Satanic Temple do that, and I just felt so proud. Like I had this, I had been wearing this pendant for a while because I was a Satanist, but I always felt a little strange about being out in public. But I felt really proud that day because I thought, wow, maybe some people saw the news and they saw what we were doing. Okay, so when I heard about that, I contacted the Satanic Temple. I noticed that they had some stuff on their website about if you wanted to start a chapter. So I contacted them and asked, hey, is there a Seattle chapter? And if not, how do I apply? And so there was nobody, and I applied, and here I am. We started I became chapter head last October, and we had our first meeting on December 7th. So we're really new. We've been growing very quickly. We're working on a lot of things. I'm really impressed with it's really neat to see this community coming together There's a lot of people from very different backgrounds in our community. You know, there's atheists, there's people who are Satanists, people who identify as witches, humanists, you know, even some theists probably. You know, we don't have any rules as far as your own personal belief system goes. Like, what we're all about is the purpose that we're all working towards, and these very basic tenets that I'll get to in a minute. So the RFRA stuff is where we're doing a lot of our fighting right now. It's really important because there's 21 states that have these RFRAs on the book that basically allow discrimination, and every state that can get one of those in is going to get one of those in. So we have our work cut out for us. But they really have dug their own grave. Legally, we have a really good standing that our beliefs are just as valid as their beliefs. Because if you say otherwise, then obviously you're privileging that one religious viewpoint, and that's pretty clearly illegal. So on that front, one of the ways that we're trying to fight the RFRA in Michigan is we're trying to add a provision or get a bill passed that would require businesses to put up signs that say who they discriminate against. So, you know, and we have them to print out on our site, and there's two signs. There's one that says, due to sincerely held religious belief, you know, service is refused to, you know, and then you put gay or whatever you won't allow, you know, in your store or hospital or whatever. And then there's another sign that says, due to sincerely held religious beliefs, this business is open to all. You know, so we're really trying to point out what's going on here, and this tactic has worked. One of the eastern states, a Democratic lawmaker, attached this provision to the bill as it went through, and it totally killed the bill, because nobody wants to be called on their discrimination. They don't want, you know, oh, it's my religious freedom. No, it's just straight out discrimination. So one of the biggest and most exciting developments that's happened in this RFRA case is in Missouri. We're actually suing the state of Missouri right now. We had a member who wanted to get an abortion in Missouri. Missouri has one abortion clinic, and it's in St. Louis. And they have a 3-day mandatory waiting period. So she did not live in St. Louis, and she had to pay for travel and lodging for those 3 days, not to mention just the indignity of, you know, having to go there and then being sent to wait, like, oh, well, why don't you reconsider, you know. And she brought with her that waiver, you know, that we had designed, that legal waiver. And of course, the Planned Parenthood could not, you know, honor the waiver. But we're not suing Planned Parenthood, we're suing the state. We're seeking an injunction against the governor and the lieutenant governor, because this is, you know, a pretty clear violation of her religious rights. And so we've got some lawyers looking at it. Nobody has taken this case pro bono like sometimes they do, so we're fundraising a lot to try to get a good legal team. It looks like it may become a class action lawsuit, because there are more than one, you know, there are more than one people that have had this happen to them. So I'm super excited about that. You know, the press, all the reasonable people out there seem to really support what we're doing. I think because they get it. And we're really not out to take down Christianity. We just want the religious right to stop trying to impose their religion on everyone else. Like, you know, we're all about freedom of religion. Do what you want, but, you know, this is not a theocracy, basically. Now, within the chapter itself, it is a religion, and we do provide, you know, a lot of things that a religion provides as well. We have a community, we have the shared narrative of Satan, and I'll get to that in a minute. And I think all of us, you know, people have asked me, what's the difference between the Satanic Temple and just an atheist group? You have, you know, basically the same beliefs. And I think the real answer is, you know, not only do we all kind of agree on Satan as a meaningful symbol for us, but we are all also comfortable with embracing the outsider status. Like, we're not trying to fit in, we're not trying to, you know, make a popular religion, or, you know, we realize that basically a lot of people are going to treat us like the lowest of the low, and we're okay with that. You know, we're the conscious pariah. We're out here using our outsider status as best we can to help other people. And that's really exciting to me. I mean, you know, this community has given me meaning for the first time, really. So I'm excited to be part of it. So let me talk a little bit about what we believe and then a little bit about our conception of Satan. Our belief system is extremely simple. It's all summed up in these 7 tenets that are in this flyer. I will read them. Number 1, one should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. 2, the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. 3, one's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. 4, the freedom of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego your own. 5, beliefs should conform to our best scientific understanding of the world. We should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit our beliefs. 6, people are fallible. If we make a mistake, we should do our best to rectify it and resolve any harm that may have been caused. And then finally, 7, every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. That right there, that's all our belief set in those 7 tenets. And the simplicity of that makes for a really wonderful community because, like I said, we have people from really diverse backgrounds. People have been Satanists, as long as they can remember, just straight up atheists. Just a lot of people that don't really even identify as anything in particular, but were really disenfranchised or even abused by the religious system. Whether it's parents or society or institutions, there's just a lot of abuse out there. And I feel like in some ways this community is a refuge from that. And it's just wonderful to see the diversity in that community and the fact that, we're all kind of united around this one purpose. And that doesn't give us any time to sit around and argue about, what's real Satanism or what. Our conception of Satan comes from the conception that was popularized by the Romantic poets in the late 1700s and early 1800s. And here you can see this woodcut of Satan, like walking away from the angels, saying, screw you guys, I'm going to go create my own. I'm going to go have my own party. This is from, I think, a woodcut around that time of Milton's Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost was written about a century earlier, in like 1667. But by the time of William Blake, Lord Byron, Percy Shelley, Anatole France, they had taken Milton's Satan and reimagined him as a hero. Now, that was during the time of revolution. The American Revolution had just happened. Europe was just completely, there was a lot of energy foaming up to try to, stand up for the common man. It was the time when the power of the church and the church-sanctioned royalty, that was kind of starting to dissolve. People saw the American people do it, and then, they're like, oh, maybe we don't need those kings. Maybe we don't need that church. Maybe we can just rely on ourselves instead. And so that's the conception that we're harking back to. And they stood for, for them, Satan was this hero for the common man that dared to say, why do I have to submit to you? By what power do you have this authority over everyone? I refuse to submit without, any good reason. It's just arbitrary. And they really saw that, echoed in the energy of the time. And they saw him as this hero fighting against that tyranny. Now, some of them, by the end of their writing, like Blake, didn't stay with that conception of Satan the whole time. But, that was a pretty powerful and influential idea of the time. And we feel it has a lot of resonance today. We certainly feel that, there's these theocratic forces at work in our government right now that I just, I look at what's happening and I think, this is 2015. I mean, how are we passing laws that make it okay to ignore anti-discrimination laws? That's ridiculous. Yeah, so we think it's very relevant, that spirit. And we're not afraid to stand up and question and be, denigrated as Satanists. That's okay. We're the outcasts, and we're all right with that. So that's our conception of Satan. We don't believe in or worship Satan. We don't believe in or worship anything. Some of our members probably would say that they're theists or believe in some supernatural forces, and that's fine. Like I said, we don't police anybody's personal beliefs. But as an organization, we're strictly atheist. We want all our beliefs to be founded in science. Okay, so that's us. Now, we're an atheistic kind of Satanism. So is the Church of Satan, or the kind of Satanism that's based on Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible. That's the branch that I came from. I was addicted to nitrous oxide for 15 years, and then I was addicted to heroin for 5 months. And I tried going to 12-step programs for years and years, and it just didn't work for me. They said, okay, well, you were powerless over your addiction, and only your higher power can come in and fix you, and you have to surrender and let your higher power fix your defects. And your job is to pray for that to happen, and and I asked, well, I'm a magician, can my higher power be myself? And I was told, no, it can be anything outside yourself. It can be a doorknob, it can be the group, it can be anything but yourself. So, I tried really hard to fit into this philosophy and tried to stop the addiction that way, but every time I would get hit with the compulsion, that would echo in my head, and I would say, oh, well, I'm powerless. I guess that means I'm powerless. I guess I better go get the nitrous or whatever, By the end of it, I had just given up. I felt like I had been trying for years. Nothing was working. I just was probably going to eventually somehow end up in drugs and dead. But then I met my husband back in 2010, and he was a Satanist, and he had a copy of the Satanic Bible. And, I read that, and from that, I had this revolutionary realization that I was my own God, and that meant not only did I have the power to fix myself, but I was the only one that could do it. There wasn't going to be a God that was going to reach in and do it, no matter, how hard I tried to muster one up. It was going to have to be me, no matter how hard it was. And, it was that philosophy that allowed me to do everything I needed to do to get off and stay off the drugs. And I've been clean since October of 2013. So, and I'm, thank you. I put my stories into a book of essays called The Happy Satanist. And so it really was the philosophy that I needed to find self-empowerment and self-responsibility and also self-compassion. I think our culture really rewards, self-negativity and beating yourself up. Certainly Christianity, right? That's how you gain entrance to heaven, is by being the most humble. And we're so often taught that hating ourselves is a virtue and putting others before ourselves is a virtue. And so it was kind of a shock to me to start thinking, oh, maybe I am worth taking care of for once. It helped me have the motivation to go get the right mental health care. I have depression, contributed to the addiction, treatment for my diabetes. And my work with the temple, it really keeps me wanting to make myself better and better and take better and better care of myself, because now I have a duty to the community. That was the philosophy I got from the Satanic Bible. Not everybody gets that philosophy from it. It's based on a work called Might is Right, and there's a lot of Ayn Randian philosophy in it. A lot of people have taken it to support social Darwinism. Basically it's a dog-eat-dog world, and you got to go out and screw over your fellow men to get to the top. And I've seen white supremacy come out of that camp, a lot of misogyny, homophobia. I considered myself a LaVeyan before I joined TST. I never liked the Church of Satan. The actual organization is kind of hidebound and not that relevant these days. But now I feel like I want to distance myself from that LaVeyan tradition, just in the fact that what it's kind of become today. I don't know. But we have a lot of people in the temple that, still identify as LaVeyan. The Church of Satan itself hates our guts. We're not sure why. I guess the Church of Satan is the group that was founded by Anton LaVey, but he died in the 80s, maybe 90s, and it was taken over by, I think, this priest called Gilmore and some other political stuff. I don't know. But they've kind of set themselves up as the only true Satanism. They're kind of like the fundamentalists of Satanism in some ways. If you encounter them on the internet, all they'll do is quote LaVey at you and tell you how you're wrong about what real Satanism is. And they really hate the fact that the temple is liberal and compassionate. We've had several people of the LaVeyan persuasion very publicly leave this group because, we weren't up to their standards of fuck the weak. And it's just really awful stuff that came out in this split. So that's my take on the Church of Satan and LaVeyanism. We basically don't have any relation to any other satanic group. Certainly, there's a lot of places in the satanic community where we'll come on and we'll be on a podcast or we'll join the discussion. But, it's not really our place to argue any kind of satanic philosophy with other groups. We're kind of busy doing our own thing. And so let me also talk a little bit about rituals and ceremony. Church of Satan and the LaVeyan path, there's a lot of rituals. A lot of satanic paths, rituals a big part. So the Satanic Temple, we do plan to have ceremonies and rituals, especially for the community. Like if people want to get married, or coming of age ritual to mark a passage in your life. Those are the kind of rituals we'll be doing. None of them will be, I wouldn't characterize them as magic in the sense that if you're a magician, you would normally think of it. It's more like a performance piece, I would say, or a community building exercise. I think for me, one of the most exciting things about our belief set is that tenet that talks about science-based beliefs. Because I have some science training and I'm also a pagan and I grew up in the woods and I'm just really horrified by what's going on our planet and what we're letting happen. And it just, it makes me literally cry sometimes when I look at the pictures of the oil spill or whatever. And I'm tired of these people using God as this shield for their money interests and saying, oh, God would never let us change the climate, It's arrogant to believe the scientists. Okay, well, thank you guys all for coming. And I really enjoyed it.